Hello, my name is Emily Teague. I'm a fashion and a portrait photographer based in Brooklyn, New York, and today we're going to be talking about what hard light is and how to create it. I currently have an HP Z9 Plus printer from Adorama in my apartment and figured the sharp contrast and detail from our hard light would show off nicely in print. So after we're done talking lighting, I'll also talk just a little bit about printing. So diving right in, what is hard light? Hard light is very focused, usually intense light with an abrupt transition from the light to darks in your image. With hard light, you're going to get really defined lines of shadow. Hard lighting can be described as quite harsh, and the shadows created are going to be a lot harder and darker than with soft diffused or bounced light. With hard light, you're also going to see a lot more texture and detail in your image, which you might really like if you're going for a kind of intense or edgy look. But if you're photographing someone with rough, blemished facial skin and you're wanting to give a more flattering, smoothed out look for them, then hard light is probably not going to be your friend. You can think of the light to shadowed areas with soft light being pretty even and gradual, whereas with hard light, that light to shadow is going to be abrupt, more defined, and have more contrast between the darkest and lightest points within your image. There are all sorts of exceptions, but for starting out understanding hard lighting, it's generally used more for dramatic, intense, mysterious, or dangerous scenes. Think about film noir or old detective films, classic cowboy movies. You've got this serious edge going on in the mood of the film, but also in the lighting to match that mood. Those harsh shadows and defined lines from the hard light go great to contribute to these dramatic stories. So with an understanding now of what hard lighting is, let's talk about how we can create it ourselves. We want high contrast in our light to shadow, defined lines, and intensity, right? This is not light that we want to bounce off a light surface and then come back onto our model. We're going to want it to be directly aimed at our model without any type of diffusion in its way. So some examples of this. The sun right overhead in the afternoon on a clear day when it's most intense. We often think of this time being when we get the kind of raccoon-looking shadows under our eyes from when the sun hits our brow bones and that light creates a shadow underneath. With a little knowledge and manipulation though, we can really play outdoors even in this harsh light to create really flattering looks. One thing I'll do when I'm in this situation is silhouette my model by turning them until the sun is hitting the top of their head and back, if the angle of the sun allows for this, of course. Or I'll have it so my model's face is angled up towards the sun, lighting it intensely but also evenly with hard shadows on the edges and lines of their body. This is a situation where you might really have to crank up your shutter speed or aperture for a proper exposure because there is so much light. And outside with the intense sun, you can also play with shadows like shapes or lines or patterns or really all sorts of things for more unique hard light looks. A simple on-camera flash that's small and intense would work great to create hard light while also getting us the dark shadow behind our model. And you'll notice the catch lights in your model's eyes are going to be more like a pinprick of light reflection compared to if you're used to using softboxes or umbrellas and having those really large catch lights. We can also use modifiers to intensify and control our light. So we wouldn't want to use a softbox or anything that's going to make our light broader or more diffused. But you could pair your strobe or continuous light with a silver reflector because that silver is going to intensify the contrast and also control that spread of light so it's a more narrow spread. You can use beauty dishes that can create flattering, sculpted hard light that helps define facial features. Your white beauty dishes are going to be softer, but again, that choice of silver will give you more contrast, so harder lighting. And because diffusion would be creating softer light, we would choose not to pair the beauty dish with a diffusion sock. Instead, you can pair your beauty dish or reflector with a grid, which is going to help you control the direction and spread of your light while also helping to get those sharper shadows. So more directional, more concentrated light. Then there are snoots, which are great for creating really controlled small areas of hard light and isolating your subject that's being lit. There are also grids for snoots if you want more direction. And the last example of a hard light modifier I'll touch on for today is Fresnel's for a more classic cinema style hard lighting. With all of that said though, you can find all sorts of options for creating hard light and you can even make your own modifiers if you're crafty. Just think about the goal generally being to create lighting that's intense, high in contrast between the darks and the lights, and is directional. So now let's talk printing. Today I'm using the HP Z9 Plus printer and it's a bit of a beast. Just a few specs first. This is a thermal inkjet platform with 9 color cartridges. I first used this at an Adorama fashion workshop I was teaching and absolutely loved the amount of detail I saw in my prints. It's got uniformity of print, so you can trust you're going to get the same result every time without worrying about inconsistencies in color or quality. And for the ink, we've got both photo black and matte black options. Our photo black is going to work better on glossy stock, and our matte black is going to work better on matte stock, which we're using today. So the benefit lies in the black ink reacting properly to the surface it's printing on, so longer lasting ink. And if I wanted to go for printing off black and white images, then I'm going to see better gradients in the different tones. Last thing to mention is I'm pairing the printer with matte paper, so the images are going to have a softer, less shiny, and kind of elegant finish to them. So I'm going to take one of the images I shot today, which has already been retouched by my dear friend and very talented retoucher, Pratik Nayak, and send it over from my computer to the printer via the HP Click app that's really simple to use. It's just a drag and drop method to get the images over to your printer. Okay, so first print up, and it's really cool to see. The first thing that I'm noticing is just all of this detail in Maurice's skin. It looks really, really great in his hairs and his lips. You can see on his neck, even like in his shirt around this neckline. I love the amount of detail in here. I'm also really happy with the choice of having it matte and kind of having this lifted shadow look where we're still getting these very dark shadows and these defined lines, as I was talking about before, with the highest points of contrast between the darks and the lights and those abrupt lines happening. You can really see that about right here, along here, right by his nose, especially by his nose where there's that dark shadow next to that bright white. So I'm feeling really happy about this. Let's try another one that is from a soft light setting. Okay, so next up I have my soft light look that I paired with just a strobe and reflector to get this little hard edge light here. So first thing that I think of when I look at this image is I'm really happy with the color. I would say between skin tones, lips, also his shirt being separate from the background. Even though they're both black, you can see this really detailed line right here separating him. So very happy with this one as well. Last image that I printed off is actually a black and white image. Let's look at that. And so this one definitely has the most detail. I don't often do black and white because I'm a very color obsessed woman, but I think it works so well for this to have both this kind of elegant feeling, this timeless look, this mystery, this intensity. And also if we look at the detail in his skin, there's so much detail here. Yeah, really, really cool to see this one and to see mostly shadows, but then get the detail within his hair and kind of have that gradient of light where we have nice, really harsh light here that fades off into this darkness. So I have a lot more printing and playing around with this printer over the weekend, but happy to show you my early on results from just dragging and dropping the files to the printer through the HP Click app. I hope you all enjoyed this quick hard lighting plus print session. Let me know if you have any questions, thoughts, random musings, and if you do, leave them for me in the comment section to come back to and check out, and I'll see you all next time.